Welcome to the Real and Real Estate Podcast, your go-to show for real estate success. Whether you're an agent aiming to crush it or a buyer or seller wanting the inside scoop, we're here to deliver expert advice, insider tips, and the real talk you need. Each episode, we chat with top industry pros to give you the facts, strategies, and inspiration you need to thrive in this business. Let's dive in and make big moves together. I'll just start. Hi, welcome back to the Real and Real Estate, where we talk to the experts and get the facts. And today we're here with some wonderful people. Kamela Scarbeck, which you've met before on my podcast, wealth advisor, and we have Duane Wagner here as well, both from the same company. So welcome, guys. Thank you for joining.
Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, happy to be here.
I know you're in the financial industry, but I wanted to talk about building wealth, which you can certainly do with real estate, the equity you get in a home, the number of homes that you may have if you're wanting to be an investor or have rental property. But one thing I wanted to talk about that I hear over and over again is that young people are not buying homes because they don't think they can afford it. And so prices of homes have increased ever since COVID. There was the seller's market and people were fighting over the properties. And so it did increase the price of the homes. And of course, back then the interest rate was like 3%, which is never going to happen again. So please stop waiting for it. It's not going to happen. But it was 3%, but the price of the houses were higher. Now that's starting to level off. The interest rate is hovering around 6.62. But the prices of the homes have started to level off because the market is starting to become more balanced and is going to start leaning toward a buyer market. So I'm not sure what the buyers are waiting for. They're waiting for the interest rate to come down, but that doesn't mean it's going to come down as fast as the price of the houses. I'm going on and rambling, I know, but one thing I wanted to talk to was about building wealth through real estate, building equity through real estate, and maybe setting our expectations differently than what a lot of people are setting. If you can't buy your dream home right now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't buy something. You shouldn't get in the market. You shouldn't start building that equity and that wealth. So that's kind of where I'm at. You guys are the financial experts. What do you think about this?
So I have an extensive background in real estate myself. I'm a real estate investor. I'm old, so I've owned a number of properties myself. But I think traditional financial planning and home ownership kind of don't always overlap, right? And then social media completely ruined the whole thing. Whereas you got people out there right now talking about you should never own property and renting is better. And listen, I'm old school. I think that is flawed way of thinking. However, I also I also believe in inflation, right? It's a fact at this point. So the cost of the housing is not going to necessarily ever get any cheaper than it is today, right? So if people are delaying buying now, all you're doing in the long term is pushing off a higher bill anyways, right?
Yeah.
So again, assuming you're not buying to turn it in a couple of years when the closing cost won't catch up, things like that. But if you're buying for 10, 15-year windows to upgrade, kind of like you were getting to in terms of not buying your dream home today, is typically mathematically the best thing to do because you're not throwing your money away and you get to recoup some of it on sell and buying a new one. So I mean, we love buying real estate as part of your strategy. I am also the type that does not classify your personal home as an asset until it's paid off. So we might misalign a little there, but again, owning a home is never a bad investment, in my opinion.
I agree. And I'm sorry, go ahead, Camilla.
I was just going to add one thing. I think that what's really important as the maybe not so old person today, and I'm just kidding today, but is really be careful where you're getting your information from. Conversations in the household, conversations with colleagues, conversations with friends can sometimes really misconstrue goals. And what was done 30, 40 years ago by maybe some of the people we're getting our advice from is just not today's reality. So I just wanted to add that in there.
Yes, and please watch what you listen to on social media. They may be well-intentioned, but it's not always factual information. So please be careful. I was looking up some rental prices today. I I was looking at a two-bedroom apartment because if most people are working from home nowadays, they're going to want room to sleep in, a room to work in. So that's why I chose the two-bedroom. And it ranged anywhere from 2,000 to 2,900 and higher. And I know you can own a home for that or less on a monthly, it won't be the 3,000 square foot house that your parents owned, but it will be a very nice house and it will be something you own. And we can agree to disagree on what home ownership qualifies as. And yes, it's once you get it paid off, it's an asset, but you're also building equity. And I think that's an asset as well. Of course, you don't get that equity till you sell, but
I think there's a lot of
thoughts.
fear associated to home ownership when it comes to the cost of the upkeep. That's what I typically hear from people in my millennial bracket, if you will. Well, the AC is
Mhm.
going to break, this is going to break the roof, and so that fear has instilled this block, and that's why people aren't buying homes.
Well, when you buy a car, it's going to break eventually too. Everything's going to
Absolutely.
break eventually. But no, I understand. You got to be really smart about what you buy, and you've got to have a good realtor. There are some out there like me to guide you through, what to buy, what not to buy. I just went with a client and house that they absolutely loved. We did the inspections and that thing was falling apart. So no matter how much they loved it, we got the heck out of there. So you do have to be smart about it. Anyway, so there are other ways to build wealth, which you guys deal in all the time, but it's good to hear that real estate is a part of your portfolio, your plan.
Yeah, we talk about investment vehicles like um, pillars of the financial plan, right? And real estate is always one of the pillars, right? Everybody's
Yes,
situation and solution might be a little bit different than their neighbor, but definitely real estate, especially if you want to be an investor, because the long term answer to retirement is cash flow, right?
right.
So you can accomplish cash flow in a number of ways, and real estate ownership from an investment perspective is a very, very, very good one, right? Real estate tends to go up in value, cash flow tends to go up in value, and the only two primary factors are mortgage rates, insurance rates, and property taxes, right? Um,
And supply and demand.
Sure, sure. So, we love real estate, but I think the way you framed the original question about why the young kids are not buying, I think they have a warped view of what interest rates should look like. Okay, a
Absolutely. Yeah,
again, my parents are, well, my dad's no longer with us, but my parents would be in their mid-70s right now, and their first mortgage when they bought a house was at 24% interest. So
exactly.
so when
Ex-
I hear kids nowadays talk about, well, 7%'s twice as high as it was 5 years ago, sure, it was, but it's not 24%. So,
Oh,
um, and I'm with you. I
yeah.
think the Fed will control interest rates. I think it's a manipulated market at this point. Do we think we'll see 3 again? I highly
No.
doubt it, but who knows, right? But I definitely don't think it's gonna happen anytime soon if they do it.
Yeah, I think it'd be very unlikely. Barring another disaster like we had with COVID, which I think spurred everything on. Um, right or wrong, it is what it is. Well, talk to us about some other ways to build wealth. This is what you guys do every single day, helping people, advising them, managing them. Tell us a little bit about your company.
You go.
So, so the Fitzpatrick Group has been around for 10 years now, and I find that, very similarly to what Dwayne said, traditional financial planning typically falls short. So everything that we've been taught and all the narratives and all the plans and projections that have been out there for years and years usually don't give us an actual strategy as to what people are trying to accomplish, which is cash flow, right? So that's what sets us apart. We play both sides of the fence. The goal on the stock market side is to keep things as transparent as possible. Lots of lack of transparency there when it comes to fees and additional investment costs. And when it comes to anything on the insurance side, we already spoke about social media. Most people are being sold absolute trash and don't understand what they're being sold. And so that's where we truly set ourselves apart on both sides while still including real estate in portfolios because a lot of advisors will advise against that because they just want your assets. So, simply put, that's really how we help anyone that we, come across with the tools to build wealth more holistically.
One of the things I like about you and your group is you believe as much in education as I do, and that's one of the reasons I do this podcast is to bring the experts to the public. No one person can know everything, so you need to get the facts straight from the source. And so I really appreciate you all taking the time to do this and having the same values as we do. So educating your client is the best way for them to make a decision, and the I think it's a great way to build trust with your clients as well.
Well, I think we find with a little education, most of our clients make different decisions in terms of how they save when they understand everything that they can do. Right? And then a lot of times you couple that with saving differently doesn't necessarily mean saving more. It just means saving more efficiently. And I think from our perspective, the days of the traditional financial planning of put all your money into a 401k tax deferred, kick the can down the road, in our opinion, just need to be over. There's just more efficient ways of saving to have a controllable output, right? To understand what your spend can be. Because again, we're back to cash flow. This is income versus expenses, right? Most people have controllable expenses and have uncontrollable income. So if we just put a little control behind that, it's a predictable retirement. They can take the vacations. Because I would say probably 75% of the people I talk to are afraid to spend money because they are simply afraid to run out before they die. And that's a terrible way to live.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, well, if you're at retirement age or in retirement, the last thing you want to do is feel like you're homebound, that you can't do anything. I mean, you've worked all those years, you need to have a little fun, a little enjoyment,
Yep.
which you can help them get.
Dreaming of transforming your space? At Broderick Dean Construction, we bring your vision to life with our seamless design build approach. Locally owned and operated in Tomball and surrounding areas, Broderick Dean Construction is a family business built on craftsmanship and care. Specializing in aging in place design and multi generational living, we create spaces that grow with you, timeless, functional, and beautiful. From remodels to custom home builds to commercial construction projects, our design build approach brings your vision to life with expert guidance every step of the way. Schedule your design build consultation today at broderickdean.com to get started.
If I think someone coming to you and having an advisor, a manager, is just as important as people in business having coaches. I kind of think it's the same thing. And anytime you talk to someone that wants to grow their business, everyone says, got to get a coach, got to get a mentor. I think that's what you are for the financial world. That's how I see it. Am I on the right track?
Yeah, pretty much. And a lot of people are shocked to know that there are actually situations and times that we can help people and they don't have to pay us. And that sounds odd coming out of an
Yes.
advisory's mouth. But it's possible. Now Camilla and I, we provide value to a lot of people every single day. We deserve to be paid as well, right? But a lot of times the right thing for a client isn't necessarily, and this is where traditional financial planning goes wrong. It isn't necessarily what pays us the most. And that's where I think we set ourselves apart. You got to do what's right for their situation at all times, to include home ownership and paying your house off. And what do you do? When do you do it? Like all of that matters. It's all a piece of the pie.
Exactly, and that's very similar to what I do because I would hate to think an agent was going to steer a client toward a bigger house to get a bigger commission when it wasn't the best thing for that client. Uh, Not exactly the same, but similar to what you all do. We're all about helping clients understand what they want and what they need and how to get it at the best price and the best deal, and hopefully with the least repairs there, Camilla. That's why we get it inspected. Um, but yeah, very similar theory or philosophy there. So who would be your ideal client? I mean, I work with anybody and everybody. I know some financial planners, if you don't have $150,000 to play with, don't talk to me. How does your company work?
Well, that's funny. We hear that all the time, right?
Well, it's funny if you got 150, it's sad if you don't.
Well, I'll just use your number, but we hear that all the time, and I always joke and say, well, if you had 149,000, that's just not good enough.
Right.
We don't operate like that. Now we've got some SEC regulations and things that we have to adhere to in terms of quantity of clients by state, depending on how the advisory services is licensed and whatnot. But for all intents and purposes, we believe in everybody that wants education deserves it. And therefore, for the most part, there are really no limits in terms of how much money you have that will help you. Because again, I think we're cutting out, blue collar, middle America if you start putting these limits. So I see those commercials on TV all the time. If you got $500,000 of assets, well, there's a lot of people that don't, and they deserve help too. So
Absolutely, I agree as well.
ideal client for us, and I think I'll speak for the two of us, is anybody that's willing to sit down and learn, realize that what they've been taught their whole life by their parents or the school system or whoever may or may not be relevant data, open
For
to
today.
look, open to new ideas, and but again, willing to learn. And if you're willing to learn, we're willing to teach you.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, yeah, same here. I always tell everyone that I did a deal for $80,000 and I did one for 4 million. So obviously, I don't care who you are, I'm going to help you, right?
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, as far as real estate or anything in general that you'd like to contribute to our conversation about helping people get started, I think sometimes the hardest thing to do is get started, whether it's looking for a house or finding someone to help you with your money. I think I like the fact that there's not a limit, that if somebody's interested in getting on the right path, you're there to help them. I think that's wonderful.
A lot of people are afraid to reach out thinking that they're gonna be charged
Yeah.
for a conversation. I think that, I spend a lot of time letting people know that a conversation with me is just time, right? And like you said, most people expect to have those investment minimums and things like that. I literally shouting it on the rooftops that the Fitzpatrick Group is different. So hopefully my message will get out there at some point.
Well, and the biggest two objections we get are either I don't have enough money to start,
Mhm.
or it's too late. I might as well not start. And I can only tell you that those two things both are just detrimental to your retirement planning. It don't matter how old you are, you need to start somewhere. Right? I don't care if you're 79 years old, like you got to start. And again, I've got kids that are adults now, so being introduced to like my kids' friends, I tell them this: it's not the dollar amount that matters. If you're going to start in your young 20s or even late teens for that matter, just put it to a percentage. Can you save 3% of your income? Right? I don't care if your income's $100. You got to start building the good habits. And once the
Right.
dollar
Oh,
amounts
yes.
change and the good habits follow, you at least conditioned yourself into saving some decent money.
I love that. Yeah, absolutely. When my children were in high school, I like them to explore things, but I had one requirement. There was a class called personal finance, and I told them they will be taking that in high school because one, they never listened to the parents, and two, they actually did a little scenario where they were given, theoretical money and the stock market, and they were allowed to spend the money how they thought best. I thought that was a wonderful way for them to learn what to do with their money, and the fact that they needed to start, because it taught them that if you start doing that now, what you'll have when you're 50 or 60 will be tremendous as long as you're disciplined. So I like what you just said about, saving 3% or whatever you all decide, uh, out of your, just put it away. Don't even look at it, pretend like it's not there.
Yep.
No, exactly. You got to be careful with the stock market, though. I'd be interested to see what those results were back in high school. They all
Actually,
probably bought.
my son did really well back then, but he did not go on to become a stockbroker.
Well,
It was for
most people
play.
think the stock market is more complicated than it needs to be, right? So in short windows, um, not to pick on your son, but he probably got pretty lucky, right?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, the stock market is the long game, right? You just got to be
Mhm.
consistent. You got to be stable. Don't take a bunch of risks type of stuff. But again, everybody's situation is different. If you're young, you can be aggressive. If you're older, traditionally you should be less aggressive. Like it just depends.
Right.
Okay. Just don't put money in the stock market and a week later think you're doing great, because the stock market will wake up the following week and make you very humble.
Yes, but it's also important not to panic in any situation usually. Yeah. Hang on, it'll come back. Just like the housing market. Hang on, it'll come back. It's back, just different.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we're kind of on the same page here. Building wealth, regardless of how you do it, hopefully with an advisor like you or with real estate or both. It's a very smart thing to do. Any last words, or you want to tell us how to contact you if they want to get started learning how to grow wealth?
Absolutely. So we do have a company website, but none of our info is on that. But it really shows how we're interested in educating people and letting them know very nicely that they've been doing it wrong, most likely. I'm on all social medias. So Kamela Scarbeck, you can find me on LinkedIn. Instagram is wealthandharmony.ks. And then Dwayne, I don't know how people can find you, but
They can find me by contacting Camilla.
there we go.
Okay, well, that's easy. Well, we will have your contact information down at the end of the podcast. But anything else you'd like to say before we sign off for today?
No, I would just sum it up and say I think real estate and personal finance are very similar in the longer you wait, the more expensive it gets and the harder it gets. And it's in the uphill challenge is just bigger and bigger and bigger. So on any level, as long as you're financially stable to do so, just get started in either one of them. So I think they very much complement each other in that way.
Yeah.
And I am going to say one more thing. I'm sorry, Camilla, but same way with people talking to lenders, talking to a finance person. I think they're always embarrassed that they're not going to have enough or they're not going to know the right questions or the answers. And I think you all will put them very much at ease. They should not hesitate to contact you one way or the other, because I love the fact that you say you've just got to get started.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, so just to double down on what Camilla said, and I'll just say it point blank, we don't charge for time. So if you got questions or concerns, or even if you're using a strategy right now that you don't necessarily understand or don't like, having a conversation with Camilla or I or anybody for that matter, from our office perspective, it's a conversation. She said it just cost you time. We do not charge for time. So you have nothing to lose, but maybe an hour to figure out if you're on the right path or whatever. So I highly recommend people just reach out and figure out if we can help.
Yeah.
Well, we have that in common also. I don't charge for time either.
There you go.
Love it.
All right. Well, thank you, Dwayne and Camilla, so much for joining me today. Hopefully, this will get some people started saving and building wealth, contacting you and thinking about real estate. And you got to start sometime, like you said. Thank you for tuning in to the Real and Real.